Good afternoon, welcome to today's video. In today's video, I'm going to attempt to do something new. I'm going to attempt to pull these headlights apart to tint them from the inside out, I guess you'd say. Do I have any idea what I'm doing? Have I done this before? No, I haven't. I absolutely know what I'm doing. Can I ruin these headlights? Highly probable. Are we going to do it anyways? Hell friggin' yeah. Alrighty, so I'm going to jump inside now. I'm going to chuck these in the oven at 120 degrees for 8 minutes. That'll soften the butyl that goes around the edge of the light. Then I should be able to pry it open so we can get into it. All right, so I got Indy as support like normal, always sitting over here chilling. All right, so the things that I at least think that you're gonna need is you're gonna need some pry tools to get in there and actually do a good job. Plastic on plastic is always a lot better than using metal as a pry bar because that's how you damage stuff. So it's always good to get a set of these. I did have a set of like 10 of them. These are the only soldiers that are still standing. And then I've got some black nitrate gloves as well, just so that it's not getting messy and all over my hands and everything. Alrighty, so we've got the light ready to go. Got the oven heating up over here. And yeah, once that's warm, we'll then chuck it in there, set it for a couple minutes, and we'll have an attempt to see how this goes. Hopefully we don't ruin this light. Okay, so I've kind of had to jerry-rig something. Don't judge me, I understand how sketchy this is. But I guess we're just gonna see if it's gonna work. Now I made sure that there's actually nothing really touching the lens itself that could actually harm it or mark it with the heat. But we'll chuck it in there for 10 minutes and we'll see how it goes. All right, I'll get back to you when we pull it out and we'll see if we can begin prying. Okay, update. I'm halfway through my first bunny. I'm halfway through getting the light apart. Now there have been some casualties. Got a broken clip there. A little bit warped. Eh, what are you gonna do? It'll all glue back together anyways. You won't see it. It'll be fine. All right, gonna chuck them back in the oven because there's a lot more glue on the bottom side and it doesn't want to come off. So see how it goes. Okay, so after probably what's actually been a couple hours, I've actually gotten these all apart. Now it was as straightforward as I thought it was, but it wasn't easy. And along with the casualties is, where is it? I have to fix that. I looked on, like it's all on the outside though, so I'm just gonna do some heavy sanding and polishing, and I don't know, we'll see if it comes up. Yeah, luckily that is all just on the outside. It is pretty aggressive though, so maybe it won't live too long. But these are all apart, so I'm gonna start spraying them all now. Okay, so now that I got the parts out, I've started painting them black. Once they've been black, I'm now starting to clear coat them. Yeah, if it looks a bit blotchy, it's just because I've just dusted down its first single coat, and in a couple minutes I'm gonna put a heavier one on. Now, it's really not the ideal day to be, oh, a bit of blue sky. It's really not the ideal day to be painting, but with a bit of heat, so you always need that optimal temperature. I always like to hit it with a heat gun first, get it nice and warm, just so it's at room temperature, not bake it, but just warm it up a bit so the paint atomizes properly. Yeah, so I'll put a better coat on these now. Alrighty, so now just gotta let it sit back and let this dry. For the painted outside, there's a couple little imperfections and a little dead bug. So I'll let this dry and then I'll wet sand it and then I'll give it another coat. There's an imperfection just there that I'm really annoyed with. Thought it was a bug in it, but it wasn't. Yeah, just wet sand, paint again. Okay, so now that these parts are painted, we're gonna play a bit of adult Lego and we're going to reinstall everything back into the light, or at least fix everything back into its housing kind of thing. And yeah, we get close to reassembly. Let's get into it. So now I'm pretty much just going around trying to find every little hole that looks like you can see it's actually joining to another piece. I have a bunch of these little screws left over. So you literally just go around one by one, start threading it, screw it in. Then you've got like your standard ones all around the edges that actually bolt it to the outside lens of the light. And once I've done that, I can then mount it to that front bit of the light, which still needs to do a bit of repair. But that's pretty much the finished product so far, and I am over the moon. That looks freaking insane. All right, let's continue back. I bought this kit from Super Cheap that comes with all these different sanding pads for like wet and dry sanding on a drill. I've always wanted to get one of those kits. They're really fun. So at the moment, I'm at the polishing stage, and all those spider cracks are gone. There's still a bit of white blistering, but I'm going to be able to hide that behind the eyelid when I do it. I'm just going to drop the height of the eyelid down a little bit, which I'm happy with. All right, I'm going to buff this polish off now and see how many more times I need to polish it to get it looking good. Alrighty, so as you can see, all those spider cracks are gone. And now we just gotta keep on polishing to get the rest of all these tiny scratches out. Alrighty, boys, I've been trying. I've actually been filming this all weekend long. I have been trying. I put time, money, and effort in, and after 3 days of fighting with this thing, I think I have to call it quits. I think I officially have to say this beat me and that I have failed. Now, after wet sanding and wet sanding and wet sanding and polishing and all of that, did it a million times over, spent probably a day polishing, I almost had it perfect. Now, there was like 2 spots that I couldn't get like 100% perfect. I thought I could just clear coat, wet sand and polish and it'd be done. I was so close to having it pretty much like done and respectable, but yet so far away from being acceptable, really. And at the moment, this is where we are. You can see this clear bit in the middle. The clear coat did not bond well, so I had to sand it all off. And this is where I'm deciding to call it quits. At least for this video. I don't know whether or not I'll attack it again and try and finish it off over the coming days or anything. Annoyingly, this was the hardest part of the process, and I knew that this would be an insane slippery slope. If I'd begun doing this and went down this path of trying to fix the lens, I knew it'd be time, money, and just once it gets bad, it just gets worse. I've been down this path before and I knew I shouldn't have tried. I don't know, I'm gonna still try and save it. If you're wondering why it happened, why the bubbling at the end and the spider cracks, it was because I got impatient and I turned the heat up too high on the oven, and it was obviously the limits of the plastic. And yeah, so it's to my own accords. The actual inside of the light that I painted black came out perfect and it is ready to go in. The whole light is ready to go, but I stuffed up the lens, and you can't just buy those. Sadly, you can only buy full headlights. So I will try and save it before I just completely throw it away and give up. But at least for now in this video, it's a no-go. I've failed. But I'll at least show you what the inside of the headlight would look like, because it came out pretty boss. So this is what the inside of the headlight turned out to look like. It came out perfect, literally like done. This has been inside waiting for the lens for 2 or 3 days now, completely finished. And it came out really freaking nice, and I love it. And it's just so disappointing that on the last steps of getting this actually done, it's the outside lens that's let me down. I think I may just have to pay a professional to do a proper job. At least now you don't have to do this because you've seen me do it. It is definitely not as easy as they say it is, or as you'd think that it is. No one says that it is because no one's dumb enough to try it by themselves. But this is what you potentially run the risk of having. Now, one way that I could have easily fixed this and avoided this from the beginning was if I had a big enough oven. These lights are so big that it just doesn't want to fit in the whole oven, so I put a towel around the opening in the door and a box, and as you saw, and it just wasn't working, and that's what made me impatient, and that's what caused the mistakes, like normal. But yeah, I'm going to try and fix this from here on out. I will try and get this together, but at least for now, this is going to be the end of this video. I'll catch you in Wednesday's video at 6 p.m. I hate fail. All right, guys. Peace.
You bitching and bugging, there's nothing that we got in common. I've been out grinding and hustling, investing this paper, got tired of eating that ramen. All of my music be heat, I ain't missing a beat. I've been blessed with impeccable timing. Watch all them people who friendly, it turn into envy whenever they see that you shining. Okay, I'm back.